Good evening, everybody. It is Steve Lookner with Agenda Free TV here to bring you an update on a couple stories. One is the terrible fire in a bar at a Swiss ski resort in which around 40 people are believed to have been believed to have been killed and over 100 injured. And also want to bring you an update or do the best I can to give you some sort of update on the Iran protests. It's very difficult to get a real grasp on what's going on in Iran. You don't have there's a lot of government control of the press. As often happens with Iran news, there's lots of videos and claims being spread online that are not easily verified. So we'll try the best we can to get some sort of update on Iran, but warning in advance, it's just a tough thing to really get a good sense about what's going on there with the limitations of the information that comes out of there. Anyways, we're going to give you updates. We're going to be taking your comments on the air. And if I see anything new while we're on the air, I'll certainly let you know. Yeah, in Switzerland, it's 3:08 a.m., so I'm not particularly expecting anything huge to come out new. Like I don't think we're going to get a press conference in the next couple of hours from Switzerland. Iran, it's 5:39 a.m., but you never know what we're going to hear. Let's get into it. And thanks to our moderators for being here. We have Roberts, May Queen, and Ruth, and Leslie Ladyhawk are moderating over there on YouTube. Thank you. Also, we have moderating. Oh, you know what I have to do? What I have to do so I can see this over there on Twitch is I need to switch something real quick. That's the one thing I forgot to do. Hold on. Well, give me 2 seconds here. That was the one thing I forgot to do. Otherwise, I can't really see the Twitch chat. So let me just give me 20 seconds and deal with that. Okay, just about did it. I think I can see it now. Yes, on Twitch we have modding. I got that fire. Matthew, Kohai 3, and Sarah. Linda Belk and Larry and Misha moderate for us on X. Thanks for moderating over there. And also, thanks to Margaret Riley and Kayla Aribadi are moderating over there on Facebook. Thank you. You know, shortly before I've been seeing regarding the fire at this, we actually talked about this fire when we were doing the live New Year's stream. So I was on overnight covering New Year's, and there was some initial reporting coming out about it, and we didn't really know that much about it, but we were talking about it then. So more has come out about it. But I've been seeing some stuff online today claiming that like this photo or this video is from the fire. And sometimes, you see these things and it's hard to verify them. I did see something interesting right before I came on the air. I had seen this photo today before, but I didn't really know what the deal with this photo was. What I can say is that BFM TV, which is a major news outlet in France, they have posted a photo that they say that does show the start of the fire. Now, I can't verify this myself, but I will say that the photo matches some other reporting I've seen. Now, I don't have the rights to the photo. It's not a graphic photo. I'm going to show you a link to it. So I am posting right now a link to the BFM TV post with this photo. I just posted the link in the chat. Actually, what I'll do is I'll post, I can also post a link to their website where they show it. I think. Is that going to work? Let's see if this works. If I do that, I think this is it. I think I just posted the link to the photo too. So if you click on that link, you should be able to see the photo. And so the photo appears to show people holding bottles with candles or sparklers or something producing sparkles on top of the bottles. And then you do in this photo see the ceiling, what appears to be a fire starting on the ceiling. Now, BFM TV says that in the photo you're seeing the first flames on the foam insulation that had been applied to the establishment's ceiling. And also it says that you can see in that photo, I have a hard time seeing this. BFM TV claims that in the photo you can see a woman on the shoulders of a man who was seen in the previous photo. Yes, so there's a second photo. I'm gonna post a link to a second photo in the chat. And that's that's a woman on the man's shoulders with a bottle, she's holding, I guess it looks like a bottle with sparkler on top of the bottle. Can people see the links? Because I've just posted these links. Are people seeing the links that I'm posting or not? Can anybody say if they tried clicking the links? A lot of people are saying yes. Most people are saying yes. I'm sorry if you can't, but it's working for many people. These aren't even X links. They're just links to BFM TV's website. So again, I'll post the two again. But hold on a second here. And let's see here. Yeah, if you go to the BFM TV page, which I just posted multiple links to, you can just scroll up and down and you can find the two photos. But there's one photo of a woman on top of a man. Actually, I should post that one too. I'm gonna post. I already posted one of these on my X account. I'm gonna post the other one on my X account. Just give me 2 seconds here. And okay. I'm just posting that photo. Hold on. Give me 1 second. So then I can direct you. If my links don't work, you can just go to my X account and see them both there. So they said the photograph of the bar, a woman can be seen on the shoulders of a man with bottles in her hands in which sparklers are attached near the ceiling. Okay. So again, I'm familiar with BFM TV. certainly, I can't verify these photos myself, but it's certainly a legit major news organization in France, and they say that both of these photos that they posted are from, one of them is when the fire was starting, and one of them is before the fire is starting, and again, one of them shows multiple people with bottles with looks like sparklers attached to the bottles or something like that, and they're holding them up in the air close to the ceiling, and then in the ceiling, according to BFM TV, you see a fire starting in the foam insulation. And then another picture is of a man and a woman. The woman is on the man's shoulders, and she is holding, it looks like, two bottles with those sprinklers on them. And obviously, she's kind of close to the ceiling because she's on the shoulders of somebody else. And they say those two people are visible in the first photo. Now, they've posted both of these. Also, they said, now BBC posted a similar report. BFM TV said several witnesses said they saw sparklers attached to bottles held aloft by a person perched on another's shoulders. So it's possible that that person's bottles or another person's bottles with the sparklers lit a fire on the ceiling. Now, I also don't know if that's true. Was there something about the way the ceiling was constructed or the insulation on the ceiling or whatever that made that fire spread really fast? Also, who knows about, like, I have no idea if there's something about the way the exits were or anything. You know, sometimes when there's fires, if somehow things can go wrong with people rushing out at the same time. I can't speculate on what might have happened there. I don't know, but you know, so it's one thing to say how the fire might have started, but knowing, even if you knew how the fire started, that wouldn't tell you the whole story. So this is being investigated into, but it is not believed that this is some kind of attack right now. Yeah. So again, if you missed the photos, you can just go to. I've posted them both on my X account, which is @Lookner on X. And I'll post the link one more time where you can see them both in the BFM TV thread. Anyways. Let me read some of your comments about this. I don't own the rights to the photos, so I can't show the photos. If I spot them somewhere else where I actually have the rights to them, I'll certainly show them to you. But I have not seen them somewhere where I have the rights to them. But I will. I hopefully you can find them now that I've posted them. Actually, let me just see here if there's any chance. Are they in any of these videos here? I have a couple videos. We'll take a look at a couple videos, but I don't think they're in the videos I have. Now, let me take some comments from you guys. You can see here, about 40 people dead and 115 people injured in fire at Swiss Alpine Bar during New Year's celebration. This was in I forget, it's Kron, Montana in Switzerland. Ace Master Key says, have been there during off season on student band performances. It's horrible to see. I've seen how quiet it can get. Thank you, Ace Master KE. Twaco JP, there's no sign that this is some sort of attack. The authorities say this was not an attack. Sir Porkrose says, is it like the station bar fire in Rhode Island? Well, I mean, I don't... There's a famous fire there, which I forget the details of. That was that the one where there was the station nightclub where there was a concert? Yeah, you can read about that on Wikipedia. That's 2003. There was a Great White concert. 100 people died and 230 were injured. There was a pyrotechnic display, ignited flammable acoustic foam in the walls and ceiling surrounding the stage. Within 6 minutes, the entire buildings were engulfed in flames. I cannot, I mean, given that we don't have the investigation done for this new fire, I cannot say how much like this fire it is. We just don't know. If you want to read about this, though, you can go to the Wikipedia page. I don't want to get too sidetracked talking about in detail about the station fire. But they said the station also did not have a sprinkler system for whatever it's worth. Other causes, there was blah, 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 blah. Again, I don't want to... American Foam agreed to pay $6.3 million to the families of the victims of the fire. Victims' families have cited overcrowding in the venue as a cause for the casualties. Again, I don't want to get into the details of this because I'm not fresh with the details. So I cannot say if, when all is said and done, there will be similarities between this and the station nightclub fire, which was a terrible fire, obviously. But you can read more about that on the Wikipedia page. Let's see here. But it's interesting. I have not heard. Maybe you've heard. I have not heard about whether there were sprinklers in this. In the bar. The bar were in the Swiss bar was called La Constellation. I'm going to pronounce this wrong. Let me just. I'd written it down so I didn't totally mess it up. I think it is something like. In English, it would be the Constellation. It's pronounced La Constellation, something like La Constellation. La Constellation or something like that. But Stephen McFall thinks it's exactly like the Great White concert at the station. Fireworks lit the soundproofing up. Joshua Type Beats believes that the club in Switzerland puts sparklers on the bottles when you order bottle service at the club. Leslie Ladyhawk thinks no sparklers indoors is a no-brainer. Oh, let me read you guys. I do have here, I have the, it's not updated recently, but I do have the latest official statement from the media. They put out a press release. There's also a press conference, but I can't, if I play the press conference, it's not in English, and I don't have an English translation that I have the rights to. But let me show you this. Cron Montana. Chronology of the event and preliminary assessment. Provisional assessment. This is from the police. On New Year's Eve, a fire of still undetermined origin broke out in the bar La Constellation in Cron, Montana, killing around 40 people and injuring around 115. Around 1:30 a.m., smoke was seen coming from the establishment. A third party immediately alerted the Valais Cantonal Police Dispatch Center. The first police patrols, comprised of the Gendarmerie and the Cron Montana intermunicipal police arrived on the scene a few minutes later, followed by a large emergency response team. Priority was given to treating the victims. The injured were transferred to several hospitals, and they list several hospitals. Firefighters simultaneously worked to contain the blaze and secure the area. Several shelters were opened overnight to care for the injured and families of the victims. A helpline and a psychological support service were also helped set up. The death toll stands at around 40, with approximately 115 people injured. The majority of them seriously. How terrible. The victims are of various nationalities. Their identification is underway and could take several days or even several weeks. In total, the event mobilized a very large number of forces, including approximately 30 gendarmes, if I'm pronouncing that right, 60 inspectors, 70 firefighters, and nearly 150 medical responders, supported by 42 ambulances and 13 helicopters. A criminal investigation has been opened. According to the initial findings of the investigation, the possibility of a terrorist attack has been ruled out. Now, you might say, like, well, if they've ruled out a terrorist attack, why is there a criminal investigation? So my guess is, for example, you could have a case of criminal negligence. I would think that's just a guess, but that's somewhere where somebody could be criminally negligent, break the law, for example, by not taking some safety precaution. I'm not saying this happened. I'm just saying that would be a way for there to be you could have somebody facing charges even if they didn't, intentionally start the fire. The perimeter is secured. The main street in Crans-Montana remains closed until further notice for the purposes of the investigation. The perimeter is secured and a no-fly zone remains in effect. They give a helpline where families and relatives of the slightly injured victims as well as witnesses can call. And the police are calling on the public to exercise caution and avoid as far as possible going to hospital emergency services in order not to overload medical facilities, which are currently under considerable strain from caring for victims. Certainly, condolences to all the families of the victims and thoughts with all those injured. A majority of the 115 injured seriously, approximately 115 injured. The Pancake Man says it sounds like a really bad accident. CC says the exits were narrow. I need to look at some of the accounts of this, witness accounts. I have some reports and some video to play you too. But before I do that, I was also going to check. Oh. I may have another video to link to. Hold on. Hang on. Hang on 1 second. Give me one moment here. I got to look at this. Then see if I can find it. So supposedly there's another video, which I think it's a national TV in Switzerland mentioned another video that had come out. Let me just make sure here. Yeah, Swiss public broadcaster RTS mentioned another video. So if you give me 2 seconds here, maybe I can give you a link to that one. But what I have to do here is try to do this way. All right, hang on a second. Whoa. All right, I'm looking at, okay, I am looking at a video. Wow. I don't think I've seen this one before. Okay, hang on. So what I need to do is I need to get away. I got to get a link to this video. So this is the video I just saw is a video from the start of the fire after the other video I showed you. Looks like a few seconds after. So give me a moment here. Man, I don't even know if they put it on their social media. All right, well, what I can, hold on. I'd really like to be able to show this to you guys. Hang on a second here. I hadn't seen this one before, but it's like weird. They didn't post it on their social. They posted it they posted it on their website. All right, if any of you are in Switzerland, you can look. I'm going to post a link, but you can only see this link if you're in Switzerland. I can tell you that. So that's a start. Or those of you who use VPNs can get to it and watch it as well. But it's a video from Valais, which is a Swiss site, and it's according to Valais has some reporting on this. And according to public broadcaster RTS in Switzerland, they say that the Valais video was filmed a few seconds after the photo that shows the fire starting on the ceiling. And you can see somebody in the video, like, it looks like they're trying to put out the fire with their shirt. Let me try one other way to do this, because the link I posted, you can only you can only see if you're in Switzerland, but somebody might have sent me another link to it. But just give me a second here. Let me just take a second. But I hadn't seen this particular one. But man, it's really weird. You see sparks kind of coming from the ceiling as the ceiling starts burning, and there's a person who's taking their shirt and trying to put it out with their shirt. Did this work for you guys, the link? I just posted this link to Valais again. I posted the link to Valais again. Did that work for you guys? Can people see it? Probably not if you're not in Switzerland. All right. Well, if some people are saying yes, some people are no. If you have a VPN, you probably can figure out how to get it. Yeah, some people are using a VPN to look at it. When I say the link worked, I meant the video played. Just give me 1 second here. Oops. One sec. Anyways, I don't have a way. Let me, I'll see if I can. I tried to find, again, I went to their, let me see if I can find it online somewhere else. And because I'll recognize it if I see it. And then if I see it somewhere, maybe somebody else posted it, I can tell you, oh, that's the video. I just hadn't seen it before. And I'm kind of searching around online and I'm seeing a lot of other videos, but I haven't seen that one. Oh, maybe I just found it. No? Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Hold on. Yes, I think I just found it. I found it. Okay, here is, I'm going to post a link to it. So Mario Nowfall posted this. And I don't know where he got it from, but I can tell you that the Swiss site Blick posted it, and also RTS, which is Swiss Public Broadcaster, talked about it. So I just posted another link. So see if you can look at that link that I just posted, because that should work if you have access to X. That worked? Okay. Yeah, you know, I know there's been a bunch of videos out there. It's just the problem is, for me, that you see videos floating around or photos and you have no idea if they're legit or not. So it means something to me when I see Swiss media talking about these videos, because that gives them a legitimacy. You know, so it's one thing if I'm just seeing random videos online. I don't know if they're from the fire, but the ones I've been talking about are from these are from French and Swiss media. Crossfire says it's crazy. The fire doesn't look that bad in the beginning. Fantasy says they said they heard an explosion before the fire. I was reading something about the explosion thing. I'll mention that. So there was some sort of, apparently there was some sort of phenomenon with the fire that created an explosion or multiple explosions from the fire itself. Hang on one second here. Give me a second. Give me a second. Was it called a Yes, authorities said that what happened was a flashover. A flashover. So the Attorney General for the area said the main theory we're prioritizing is a flashover that provoked a rapid explosion. CNN says a flashover occurs when hot gases rise to the ceiling and spread across the walls, according to the National Fire Protection Association. The heat intensifies until all combustible items in the room reach their ignition point and catch fire. Wikipedia describes a flashover as the near simultaneous ignition of most of the directly exposed combustible material in an enclosed area. Flashover occurs when the majority of the exposed surfaces in a space are heated to their auto-ignition temperature and emit flammable gases. As an example of a flashover, Wikipedia says, an example of flashover is the ignition of a piece of furniture in a domestic room. The fire involving the initial piece of furniture can produce a layer of hot smoke. which spreads across the ceiling in the room. The hot, buoyant smoke layer grows in depth as it is bounded by the walls of the room. The radiated heat from this smoke layer heats the surfaces of the directly exposed combustible materials in the room, causing them to give off flammable gases. When the temperature of the evolved gases become high enough, these gases will ignite throughout their extent. So again, the authorities said that the main theory we're prioritizing is a flashover that provoked a rapid explosion. So that would be, I assume, after, there's that video we were just talking about floating around of in a photo of the fire initially in a small area of the ceiling. Wade Hodges says would explain the high number of deaths and injuries. I was just trying to get you a little more information on flashover. The Palm Beach County government site has something about flashover. Let's see what they say. Thought they did. So Palm Beach County has a website where it says, flashover is the very rapid spreading of fire due to the superheating of room contents and other combustibles. So, yeah, because one of the viewers was saying, it looked that big at the start, but maybe it sounds like it just kind of at some point exploded. Yeah, Tin Bender also reposted this video. Again, I'll post the link. A number of people have posted this video online of the fire on the ceiling and somebody trying to put it out with their shirt. But as I mentioned, Blick, which is a site in Switzerland, and also the Swiss public broadcaster have talked about this video. So seems like it's a legit video. I'll post a link to that video again. Hang on, I had it here. And then I lost it, so let me just find it for you. Where is it? Where is it? Right here. Whoa. Sorry. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be playing sound. Why is this playing? Hold on. Why is this happening? Oh my gosh. I can't turn off the volume for anything. Crazy. Yeah, there are. where I'm trying to find you that one video. There are other videos, which I can't confirm for you. Right here, I found it again. Here it is. Here it is. This is the one I was just talking about. I'm posting a link again. Okay, I just posted it. That apparently is a legit video, the one where the guy is trying to put the fire out with his shirt. All right, let me take some more comments from you guys on this. I'm going to show you some updates on this. But again, French news site BFM TV has two photos. One of them appears to show right as around when the fire has started, and it shows a small area of foam, they say, on fire on the ceiling, and a bunch of people with bottles, like alcohol bottles, it looks like, with sparklers appearing to be attached to them, holding them up. And then they have another photo taken shortly before that one of a woman on a guy's shoulders, and she appears to be holding two of the bottles with the sparklers on them. And she's on top of a guy's shoulders, so she's clearly close to the ceiling. And there's this question of, is that what caused the fire? Amy Ramsey says not that it's his fault, but the guy swatting the fire may have made it spread faster. That I do not know. R. Walt thinks that once the fire crosses the ceiling and enters the attic space, the fire goes high order. Gamer Lover says saw video of them running out on top of each other, front door, sad. By the Sea says, would sprinklers have helped? I do not know if there were sprinklers. Maybe that was asked about one of the press conferences. I don't know. If they were there, I don't know if they were working. It's a good question. Thanks, Dirt Cheap. Yeah, we talked about the Great White Station nightclub fire in 2003. Again, I can't, because the inspection, so that is, I think, 100, without going back into that, you can go and look it up on Wikipedia. I think 100 people died in that fire. But remember, we don't have a completed inspection on the new fire and an exact account by authorities of what exactly happened here. As I mentioned earlier, that was a fire in Rhode Island at the Great White Concert, where a pyrotechnic display ignited inflammable acoustic foam in the walls and ceilings surrounding the stage. Within 6 minutes, the entire building was engulfed in flames. By the way, a quick thanks to Chicklet Adams, who thinks something similar happened at a nightclub in Brazil in 2013. The owners were sent to jail for negligence. We'll see if there are any criminal charges ultimately filed in this. I mean, there isn't a criminal investigation, but they don't think it was a terror attack. Thanks, I am Charlie, our member Longboard Ninja Master. Dirt Cheap, Donda J6S, Jerry Kovacs, who says terrible loss of lives. Shaft for the memberships, our members Fireforged and Sean Mo. And also Red Squirrel for the memberships. Thank you, Sarcasm BTC, and Red Squirrel and Lil's Peth. And our members Hippieista, Dean R. Vibrating Floor. Sorry, I got behind. Tom Charles. Christy Means. Raisback for the memberships. Cinemoral Reader and Mr. Showtime. Also, TechSlug. Thank you, TechSlug, over there on Twitch. And also Big Dog Gaming and Graybeard Games. And Valor 2. And also for subscribing, Jeff1202, White Run Jarl, Matthew Kohai 3, and Arizona Toaster. We're going to talk about the Iran protests in a little bit. I do want to talk a bit more about this fire. Read some more of your comments and give you some more reporting on it. There's a couple of videos here I want to show. I'm not going to show you like graphic videos, but hang on. Here. Oops, I had it here. Give me one moment. So you can see it says, Reuters says, Swiss face arduous task of identifying victims of deadly bar fire. This was at the La Constellation, I believe it is, the Constellation bar. This was in a Swiss ski resort. It was killed around 40 people, injured around 115 at a New Year's party in the upscale Swiss ski resort of Crans-Montana. As we mentioned, authorities say it could be weeks or days or even weeks before they identify everybody. So severe were some of the burns suffered by the mostly young crowd of revelers, says Reuters. Some accounts from survivors and footage broadcast on social media suggested the ceiling of the bar's basement may have caught fire when sparkling candles got too close. Here is something, so Reuters has a couple videos with that article. Here is one video about this incident that I want to show you. Hold on, wait, hold on. I'm going to put it up on the screen for you so you can see it. We will check this out.
Mourners began the new year laying flowers at a vigil in the Swiss resort town of Crans-Montana on Thursday after a fire at a bar killed dozens and injured over 100. That's according to authorities, who said the fire broke out at 1:30 a.m. during a New Year's Eve party at La Constellation bar. Locals said the spot was popular with teenagers. Swiss President Guy Parmelin called the disaster, quote, one of the worst tragedies to hit the country. The cause of the blaze, which was initially reported as an explosion, remained unclear, but authorities said the fire appeared to be an accident rather than an attack. Nathan and Axel, who said they were at La Constellation when the fire broke out, described a, quote, nightmare scene. Crowds of people in total panic, loud screams, and smoke clouding their vision.
Totalement panique, qui criait, c'était, ouais, on aurait dit un cauchemar.
Nathan added the seriousness of the blaze was not immediately clear and that there were no emergency exits.
Aucune lumière de exit, comme il y a écrit.
The two, along with another witness, 17-year-old Letitia, said they have friends who were unaccounted for.
Là, il me répond plus.
Letitia said people were pushing through a small door in hopes of escaping and fell on top of each other. She told a reporter, quote, some people were burning and some were dead next to us.
Il y en avait qui étaient morts à côté de nous.
An investigation into the blaze is ongoing as authorities work to identify the deceased so they can be returned to their families.
A whole other issue here, I really don't know much about this at all in terms of this place, but you heard the talk in that report about one person claimed there were no emergency exits. One person talked about people trying to exit through this small area. So that is obviously going to be something that's looked into, is what the situation with the exits were. I can't say, but that obviously can make things worse. And Devil Doc thinks there was only one stairway out. And I don't know what the codes are and all that stuff, and what the codes are and where the codes all, was the building compliant and everything. That I just don't know. I also wonder about the timing, because remember they said that the authority said there was a flashover, which, again, as I understand it, is when suddenly, isn't it that suddenly every combustible surface in the area just suddenly catches on fire? Without going way down that road again, we talked about it before. But you can see from Wikipedia, the near simultaneous ignition of most of the directly exposed combustible material in an enclosed area, right? So basically, like everything in the area that can catch on fire suddenly catches on fire. So, obviously that could be a huge reason for the huge human toll, is the speed at which it spread. Oh, there's a difference. One of our viewers pointed out there's a difference between combustible and flammable. Combustible material is a material that can burn in air under certain conditions. A material is flammable if it ignites easily at ambient temperatures. So we should be talking about flashover is about combustible material, not flammable material. So good point by our viewer. Evelyn in Maine thinks reporting mentions the main door but not secondary exits or emergency exits or fire escape routes. That I just don't know what the exit situation is. Let me show you, there's another video from that that goes along with that Reuters article that I wanted to show you about this. Here, hold on. So you can see, I believe that's it on the right, where they basically set up a barrier for the recovery work and the rescue work. So I would assume it's to the right there in here. Let me play this for you.
Police cordons and forensic tents shielded a bar where dozens of people were killed in a fire early on Thursday in the Swiss ski resort of Crans, Montana. Officials say a fire broke out at 1:30 a.m. in a bar called La Constellation in the resort in southwestern Switzerland. The cause remains unclear, but authorities said it appeared to be an accident. The head of security for the Valais canton said some of the victims are from other countries, with a helpline opened for relatives. I cannot hide it from you. We are shaken by what happened last night, the canton's head of police, Frédéric Gesler, said. He said around 100 people were seriously injured, with many being treated for burns. People in the town were visibly shaken and worried for loved ones.
I know someone who might have been among the victims, and I can't reach her. I'm very worried. I'm going to try to contact other people who know this woman to see if she is still alive.
A no-fly zone was imposed over Crans, Montana, and authorities said 10 helicopters and 40 ambulances had been deployed initially. Authorities said they were trying to get the bodies of the victims to their families.
Can't hear me. Currently, the current time is about 4 a.m. Switzerland, I think. So you might wonder, hey, is there another press conference coming up? Well, I'm sure they'll do another one. But just know that the current time in Switzerland is 4:02 a.m. So probably not while we're on the air. Andrew Huffman says there's a photo of folks with sparklers taped to champagne bottles, and in it you can see the acoustic foam had just ignited. We actually talked about that earlier on the broadcast. If you missed that discussion, you can go back to earlier in the broadcast. Kumaha says, will the bar owner be penalized because the building is not safe? I don't know if the investigation will say that the building was not safe. We'll have to see what they say. Oh, not a problem at all, Andrew. I'm just mentioning if people want to see the discussion of the photos. I have also posted a couple photos that appear to be legit from the start of the fire, or from before and right after the start of the fire, on my X account. Let me just show you some other reporting here on this. You can see from the Washington Post article, a witness told Swiss news media that people inside the bar struggled to escape the flames, with some people using chairs to try to break windows to get out. Samuel Rapp, another witness, told Reuters he saw people screaming at the scene of the fire and others lying on the ground, their faces covered with jackets. He assumed they were dead. At a news conference, Swiss officials were asked about whether champagne bottles with flames or sparklers or whatever might have played a role in whether all safety regulations were followed, but officials declined to comment, saying the investigation is ongoing. The Constellation Lounge bar has a capacity of 300 people with a terrace that holds 40. Think about that. Capacity of 300 people with a terrace that holds 40. And around 40 people were killed and about 115 people injured. It is not yet clear how many people were inside the bar when the fire broke out. The bar is within the Crans Montana mountain resort, popular for its skiing, gourmet restaurants, and nightlife. Many of the injured have significant, severe burns, said the president of the local government. In Zurich University Hospital, the vast majority of patients being treated for this are young people around 20 years old. At Lausanne University Hospital, the most serious cases are between the ages of 16 and 26. Crans Montana attracts 3 million visitors a year. April Coco says, you would think with all the prior nightclub fires in the past, there would be strict fire safety laws. April and a bunch of other viewers said this reminded them of the Station nightclub fire in Rhode Island in 2003. Our viewer B. Earhart thinks sparklers are not for indoor use. Tim thinks that the sparklers on the bottle were not a problem until somebody got on somebody else's shoulders with the bottle sparkling. Oh, what is this? I do have also, I just read you a Washington Post, I read you this Washington Post article, and there's a video that goes with the article where they talk to some witnesses. So let me show you that real quick. This is from the Washington Post article that we just read, but it's a video where they talk to witnesses. So check this out, if I can get this to play for you. Here, right here. See that? All right, let's check this out. Witnesses recount the scene of deadly bar fire at Swiss ski resort.
By the time we had, I think the incident happened about 5 minutes by the time we had arrived, and it was really the worst time when we arrived. There was, I think, only 1 or 2 police cars by then, so first responders were not here yet, and by the time everything ended, I mean, you know, everyone got together, everyone did what they could, all the nearby residences, restaurants, everyone who was still awake helped, either with water, tea, blankets. You know, it was a big shock, right? Everyone was very cold inside, and they come out suddenly, they're freezing temperatures. That was one of the biggest issues. It's the smoke, the fire, but also the temperature, extreme difference.
There were people screaming and then people lying on the ground, probably dead. They had jackets over their faces. Well, that's what I saw. Nothing more. Then I received videos where people were trying to get out, but they were trampling over each other, so it was hard to get out through the exit.
It is a tragedy because the majority, I imagine, of the people touched by this drama, they are the young people who came for the holidays here in the mountains. It is really, really sad.
Okay, so I just want to have you hear from a couple of the other witnesses, for a couple of those witnesses, and we're going to get to Iran in a second, if you give me just a second here. And see, here, this is from AP, and this talks about the report from BFM TV. So if you look right here, this is from the AP article on this. It says, 2 women told French broadcaster BFM TV they were inside when they saw a male bartender lifting a female bartender on his shoulders as she held a lit candle in a bottle. The flame spread, collapsing the wooden ceiling, they told the broadcaster. One of the women described a crowd surge as people frantically tried to escape from a basement nightclub up a narrow flight of stairs and through a narrow door. Another witness speaking to BFM TV described people smashing windows to escape the blaze, some gravely injured, and panicked parents rushing to the scene in cars to see whether their children were trapped inside. The young man said he saw about 20 people scrambling to get out of the smoke and flames and likened what he saw to a horror movie as he watched across the street. And just to remind you, I will post the link one more time of the picture. I just posted a picture from BFM TV where they say it's a picture of right after the fire started, where you can see a fire. They say that the first flames can be seen on the foam insulation applied to the establishment's ceiling. I don't know if that's true. Is there something about the kind of foam that made this worse? I have no idea. And they also posted, BFM TV, a picture of 2 people they said that you could see in the other picture, which is a woman on the shoulders of a man, and she appears to have 2 bottles with sparklers attached to them. So I just posted the link to the other photo. And then also, Berry thinks that foam was not safe in the presence of sparklers. And then also, I'll one more time just post the video for those who haven't seen it. It's a video that, according to that I saw discussed by this Swiss site, Blick, and they say that this video, they suggest it's. Let me just. I don't want to misdescribe them. They say it's from early in the fire where the ceiling is burning in the bar. They say it's a legit video. So I just posted a link to that in the chat as well. Oh, now by the way, just to be clear, I said it was a woman on a man's shoulders, but maybe Blick says that 2 witnesses said they saw a woman on another woman's shoulders. So maybe that's what it was. I had said it was a woman on a man's shoulders. But yeah, so I'm sorry about that, because the BFM TV says it's a person on another person's shoulders. So to be clear, I was wrong in describing that picture as a woman on a man's shoulders. It looks like a woman on another person's shoulders, but I don't know who the other person is. Anyways, I just want to make that clear. All right. All right, I want to move on. We can come back to this. I want to move on and talk about Iran some. As I said before, it's very hard to talk about the Iran situation because there's so little reliable reporting coming out of there. It's very hard to get a really accurate picture of what's going on. But we'll try to talk about it. I haven't seen. I need to look around. I guess I saw one video of the Swiss fire where there's people trying to leave. What is this one? Hold on a second. Sorry, I saw a video of a couple people trying to exit, but there's probably other videos that I'm not aware of and I haven't seen. I'll have to look around later and see. Firefighters thinks it's not insulation foam, it's acoustic foam for sound. All right. Well, we can come back to the Switzerland story. By the way, quick thanks to Joe Brown, who says, so sad indeed, just mostly young people out to enjoy the special night. Thank you for shouting out the mods, Joe Brown. Also, thank you to our member, Nikos Castellanos. It's Becca Lilly. I am Charlie, Longboard Ninja Master, Big Dog Gaming. And thank you to our moderators who are here. We have right now moderating Ruth is there on YouTube. Leslie Ladyhawk is there. Also on Twitch, we have moderating. I Got That Fire, Matthew Kohai 3 and Sarah. On Facebook, we have Kay Lowry Body and Margaret Riley. Thanks, Diane Allworth, for subscribing, and Christy Claft, by the way. And also Linda Belk, Larry, and Misha moderate for us on X. All right, let's see here. I believe today was the 5th day of protests in Iran, if I have that right. I believe this was the 5th day of protests in Iran. I do want to warn, it's like whenever there's protests in Iran, I feel like there's people who post on social media claiming like, this is it, the regime is falling. I have not seen any reporting that at least I've seen that I would find reliable that suggests the regime is falling at this point. Just to be clear. Now, as I've said repeatedly, it's very hard to tell what's going on there. But I would just be careful of just seeing stuff. And also, while there's been some videos posted online from the protests, there's been a number posted online that are actually not from these protests. So I would be quite careful about reading into social media takes on what's going on. No, there are no, one of our viewers said live Iran stream. No, it is highly rare to get a live stream out from Iran. The only time I've ever had live streams available that I could show were when they were made available by government media. I don't think I've ever had a live stream from Iran that I had the rights to show that was not made available by government media. It's very hard. I don't know why all these people in the chat are claiming that Iran has imposed martial law. I don't know why you're saying this. I've seen nothing about it. I follow all kinds of sources and news outlets and analysts, and no one has said a peep about it, so I don't know why people in the chat are saying it and where they're getting it from. I've not seen it anywhere. All right. Meanwhile, let's look at this. Oops, hold on. Okay, just as a starting point, I will say I've seen some reports of fatalities. I started to see this. You can see this is a report from AP that says at least 7 reported killed during widening protests in Iran, sparked by ailing economy. There certainly are protests going on. There certainly are some clashes between security and protesters, but it's quite difficult to get a real handle on what exactly is happening. So AP says widening demonstrations sparked by Iran's ailing economy spread Thursday into Iran's rural provinces, with at least 7 people being killed in the first fatalities reported among security forces and protesters, authorities said. The deaths may mark the start of a heavier-handed response by Iran's theocracy over the demonstrations, which have slowed in the capital, Tehran, but expanded elsewhere. The fatalities, 2 on Wednesday and 5 on Thursday, at least reportedly fatalities, occurred in 4 cities, largely home to Iran's Lur ethnic group. The protests have become the biggest in Iran since 2022, when the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini in police custody triggered nationwide demonstrations. However, the demonstrations have yet to be countrywide and have not been as intense as those surrounding the death of Mahsa Amini in 2022, who was detained over not wearing her hijab or headscarf to the liking of authorities. AP says the most intense violence appeared to strike Azna, a city in Iran's Loristan province, some 185 miles southwest of Tehran. Their online videos purported to show objects in the street ablaze and gunfire echoing as people shouted, "Shameless, shameless." Now, again, the government can say things that happened. I don't entirely trust the government's accounts either. The semi-official Fars news agency reported 3 people had been killed. Other media, including pro-reform outlets, cited FARS for the report. While state-run media did not fully acknowledge the violence there or elsewhere, it was not clear why there wasn't more reporting over the unrest, but journalists had faced arrest over their reporting in 2022. In the city of Lordegan, online video showed demonstrators gathered on a street with the sound of gunfire in the background. The footage did match known features of Lordegan. The Washington-based Abdurrahman Boruman Center for Human Rights said 2 people have been killed in Lordegan, identifying the dead as demonstrators. In 2019, the area around Lordegan saw widespread protests and demonstrators reportedly damaged government buildings after a report said people there had been infected with HIV by contaminated needles used at a local health store clinic. Anyways, so again, hard to get an exact sense of what is going on, but there have been fatalities reported, some fatalities the last couple of days. A separate demonstration on Wednesday night reportedly led to, I believe, the death of a 21-year-old volunteer in the paramilitary Revolutionary Guard's Basij force. The state-run IRNA news agency reported on this Guard member's death but did not elaborate. One Iranian news agency said the Guard member was martyred at the hands of rioters during protests in the city in defense of public order. Who is this person they talked to here in this article? They talked to a deputy governor in Loristan province, Iran, who said that the protests are due to economic pressures, inflation, and currency fluctuations in an expression of livelihood concerns. The voices of citizens must be heard carefully and tactfully, but people must not allow their demands to be strained by profit-seeking individuals. As some background, these protests reportedly started over economic hardship and currency inflation and currency weakening. Iran's rial currency has rapidly depreciated, with $1 now costing one US dollar now costing some 1.4 million rials. Iran's theocratic government had declared Wednesday a public holiday across much of the country, citing cold weather, likely as a bid to get people out of the capital for a long weekend. The Iranian weekend is Thursday and Friday. Interesting. The protests taking root in economic issues have heard demonstrators chant against Iran's theocracy as well. Let me take some comments from you guys. There could be all kinds of incidents going on at these protests that we just have no idea about. Our viewer, Captain Macabul, says, liberate Iran. The people of Iran need to embrace real democracy like our allies Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, and Egypt. Captain Macabul is being sarcastic there. I don't have the right. I mean, you can find. I'm actually going to post. I'm going to give you the link to a thread from, I think it's Cheyenne Sarazadeh of BBC, and he has been verifying protest videos before posting them, and also pointing out some videos that people are saying are from these protests that actually aren't from these protests. So I don't have the rights to show these videos, but I think it's a good thread, and he is updating the thread if you want to see some videos from these protests. I'll put a link in the chat to that right now. Verified videos of anti-establishment protests in Iran from today. He has some past threads from earlier days. So I just posted a link in the chat. He has a video of the city of Azna where people are setting fire to the local police station, he said. Some protesters in Karaj chanting, "Don't be afraid, we're all together." Some protesters in Qum pelting a convoy of bike-riding security forces with stones. Those are from today. Again, I'll put, but I can't look at isolated videos of protests and say what that means for the entire country. But Cheyenne Sardarizadeh is his name, who I follow. And he does a lot of stuff at BBC with verifying videos or showing that they're not what they purport to be. And so in his posts recently, not only has he been posting verified protest videos, but he's been posting about videos that people are saying are from these protests, but are actually not from these protests. So it's a good person to check out for some videos of the protests, but with some work put in to actually verify them or not verify them. Verify them or verify them as false or misleading. So I would check him out if you want. I'll actually post a link to his account. Let me take some more comments from you guys here. Chi-Town Dave, thank you, who says, "I don't think people understand how historical this moment is right now." Thank you, Bullet 850, by the way, who recalls the 2003 fire involving the band Great White. Thank you also, Mitchell Pilot. Thanks, Mitchell Pilot. Mitchell Pilot thinks the protests would need to get into the millions combined with security force defections and elite member defections or a major external operation. My thought on this is that if things were getting so bad, it's hard to tell what's going on there. But my thought on this is when things get bad enough, stuff starts to come out. At a certain point, they get big enough that you can't hide stuff anymore. And I haven't seen anything yet that in my completely non-expert eye would suggest that the regime is at risk. There's certainly protests going on. There certainly have been apparently some clashes between protesters and security forces. But, my point is that if things are big enough, you're going to see stuff. And so I think you can read into some to what you're not seeing as well. I can't imagine, put it this way, it's not the case that half the country is out protesting all day, because you'd be seeing something different. But maybe things can develop, So Empress Jinx thinks party is barely beginning. Crystal O'Lowry says, I'm so surprised this is happening usually the military steps in. Well, there have apparently been cases where some forces have been trying to put down protests. Again, I wish I could give you more specifics, but I just can't. But there's some videos that appear to be verified that show that kind of thing. The thing is, if you see a video, I've seen a couple videos that apparently are legit, where you see protesters and you hear gunshots. Well, are they shooting the protesters, or are they just firing some gunshots in the air and telling people go home? I mean, there's even that, it's hard to tell exactly what's going on. Double Deuce thinks that, I hope the U.S. is working behind the scenes with the Iranian people. This is their best chance to rid themselves of their evil government. Their best chance ever, says Double Deuce. Thanks to David Salavi, by the way, for your support. Also, Martin Gingrich, who says, Iran regime gives me Hunger Game vibes. All right, let's try to get you some more reporting here. See what the Washington Post was saying. They had a report on this yesterday. They say, anti-government demonstrations erupted in Iran this week with initial protests by shop owners in Tehran over the plummeting value of the Iranian currency, which by Wednesday spread to students, workers, and other elements of society across the country. I mean, one thing that can happen in a country is you can have protests among one group, and then other groups feel emboldened and they join the protest, maybe for their own reasons, with other complaints. Iranians have struggled for years with raging inflation, anemic economic growth, and international isolation, largely because of mismanagement, corruption, and sanctions imposed by the U.S. and other countries over Iran's nuclear program. Official features show inflation reaching 50% this year and the overall economy shrinking slightly, but in recent days, the situation has grown acute, with the Iranian rial's value falling sharply, repeatedly reaching record lows. Simmering discontent turned to open protest on Sunday, when videos on social media showed shopkeepers in some of Tehran's commercial centers closing their stores. Demonstrators chanted, don't be afraid, we are all together. That was a rare instance in the history of Iran's Islamic government, established in 1979, that protests had been sparked by the country's Bazari merchant class. In initiating the demonstrations, shop owners and other merchants signaled that severe economic distress had spread beyond the poor and to those relatively better off, said an expert, Mahdi Godsi. Past rounds of economic protests in Iran, particularly 2017, were driven by poorer segments of society, such as workers or families. That's an interesting point. Even the people that are making money, even they cannot make money anymore, Godsi said. This is interesting. One of the early protests broke out among mobile phone vendors in a complex in central Tehran, not far from where demonstrations have often centered in the past. Mobile phone vendors are particularly vulnerable to depreciation of the Iranian currency because they sell imported goods. In recent weeks, those businesses had become largely unviable. So how does this work? If you're selling imported goods, is the idea that like you're buying the goods? So is the idea that because you're buying the goods, but you have to change the currency. Like if you're buying goods from another currency, if you're buying goods from another country, you're not using rials to buy them. You're trading in your rials and exchanging them for the other country's currency. So if the value of your currency is going down compared to foreign currencies, you're going to have to spend a lot more you're going to have to spend more of your local currency to get those imports. I think they don't really explain. My sense of this is that the imports are going to cost you a lot more because the value of your currency is becoming worse and worse compared to other countries. I'm guessing that's what they're saying. But from the Sunday spark, the protest grew quickly in size and spread widely. Protests moved outside the capital, for example. Some on the Persian Gulf island of Keshem, the western cities of Zanjan and Hamadan, other major cities including Kermanshah, Shiraz, Yazd, and Isfahan. This is interesting. One student who was in the city, Tehran's main bazaar on Business Monday afternoon when shopkeepers in a section occupied by clothes sellers began closing up, chanting slogans and marching. The crowd grew to about 150 people. The bulk of protesting shopkeepers at that protest were relatively young with fledgling businesses, this witness said. Richer, more established merchants were nowhere to be found. The vast majority of protesters were men. The protesters' slogans soon moved beyond economic issues to take aim at the overall ruling system. Videos from a Tehran indoor mall on Monday showed people chanting death to the dictator. In some videos, street crowds chanted slogans praising Iran's deposed monarchy, which the current Islamic system replaced. The thing about those videos, you can see a video where some people might be chanting death to the dictator. But, I mean, that doesn't tell you, like, what percentage of... Maybe a lot of protesters are saying that. Maybe only a very small amount of protesters are saying that. No way. I have no idea. The protests are the first significant ones in Iran since Israel attacked the country in June in what was dubbed the 12-Day War, and the most serious since autumn of 2022 when the killing of a woman detained by police over her dress prompted widespread demonstrations that lasted for months. Before that, Iran had seen serious demonstrations in 2017 and 2019 arising from economic discontent. Also, we talked about this, as protests mounted, the government deployed security forces on motorcycles on Monday in Tehran. Some videos showed the use of tear gas and had the sound of gunshots. Now, this article is from yesterday and says no casualties have been reported. AP article says there's been 7 deaths reported. One image of the protests stood out: a lone man sitting cross-legged in the middle of a Tehran street before a line of about 24 uniformed officers on motorcycles. His head hung down, and at one point he pulled his jacket over his head so as to hide his face. The image drew instant comparisons online to the Tank Man of China's 1989 Tiananmen Square demonstrations. This is also interesting here. Despite the official show of force, state-affiliated media so far have refrained from labeling the protests as rioters, which they were often called during past unrest. Instead, a state television report described the protesters as tradesmen. And Fars News, a semi-official news agency affiliated with the Revolutionary Guard, similarly described the protesters in relatively neutral terms. Oh, I should show you what the president of Iran said, too. He said this. So this was on December 29th, which is 3 days ago. That's from the President Pezeshkian. The livelihood of the people is my daily concern. We have fundamental measures on the agenda to reform the monetary and banking system and maintain the purchasing power of the people, of the Iranian currency. I've instructed the Minister of Interior to hear their legitimate demands through dialogue with the representatives of the protesters so that the government can act responsibly and with all its might to resolve the problems. So, I mean, that is the president. He's not the most powerful person. The Supreme Leader is the most powerful person. But that's the president saying, you know, some of these people have legit demands. I don't have context for the next day when he said the Islamic Republic of Iran's response to any tyrannical aggression will be harsh and regrettable. Is that like about the U.S. or something? I don't know. But again, at least this comment 3 days ago was acknowledging legitimate demands of the protesters. And where was I here? Hold on. But the Post says there have also been more ominous warnings. The Revolutionary Guard Corps, which takes the lead in suppressing domestic unrest, warned Iran's enemies that it would stand against any sedition, unrest, cognitive warfare, security threat, or territorial aggression. As we mentioned, the government also announced broad business and government closures in Tehran on Wednesday and across the country. So they closed up a bunch of the country on Wednesday, citing a cold snap and the need to conserve energy, though the announcement was widely interpreted as an effort to tamp down on public presence in the streets. The supreme leader, if you're wondering, Khamenei, who holds ultimate power in Iran's theocratic system, so far has remained silent on the demonstrations. Interesting. There's a little more of this article. I want to read you a bit more of it. I know I'm reading a lot, but I think it's an interesting article. It gives some good background here. This is from the Washington Post. They say that signs had been accumulating for several weeks that the country's economy was reaching a critical condition. The current government had proposed a budget that would reduce government workers' salaries in real terms and increase the tax burden on consumers, and the government had recently cut gasoline subsidies, raising prices. Parsa, a 23-year-old university student and barista living in Kermanshah in western Iran, recounted in an interview the pressures that his generation faces. He says he makes about 100 million rials a month at his cafe job, or the equivalent of $70 a month at current rates. Out on a recent evening out with a friend, their bill for a pizza salad and 2 sodas came to 10.5 million rials, or about a half week's pay. He recalled a recent argument with a professor who was puzzled as to why young people were so upset over the economy. "We wake up at 7 a.m., check the price of the dollar, and it ruins our day," he recounted, telling his professor. "I told him, 'Professor, your generation screwed us over.'" So I'm assuming that there's stuff that people have to buy in dollars. So if that's the case, then you have a certain salary that you're getting paid. And if you're checking during the day and the value of the currency is going down compared to the dollar, basically your salary is going down. Yeah, I don't own the videos floating around the internet, some of which appear to be legit and some of which appear to be not legit of protests. I don't own the rights to those videos. I can't show them. I don't own them. I'll post it again. I posted a thread of videos verified by a person from the BBC who I follow who does very good verification work. Gary Bain said they had a revolution before, so they can have one again. You know, I think what we clearly know is that these protests did start among merchants in Tehran, if I have that right, over economic concerns. And they started on Sunday. But the protests have spread to other cities and other types of people, some of whom have different complaints and are anti-regime. but it's very difficult to tell how widespread they are, how many people are out there, what the exact response has been, whether they'll keep going or spread or not, whether there might be a stronger response in the near future from the government. The Institute for the Study of War had an update about it I wanted to mention to you guys. Take some more comments from you as well. That is, where is it here? Here. Reuters also says several reported killed in Iran protests over economic hardships. Our viewer Evelyn in Maine mentioned the son of the Shah of Iran. Isn't that who it is? Yeah, Reza. Yeah, the Shah of Iran was the leader of Iran who got deposed when the Iranian Revolution happened and the religious government took over in 1979. Reza Pahlavi is the son of the Shah of Iran. He positions himself often as a prominent opposition figure. I don't know how much he does not live in Iran. The exact level of support Pahlavi has is not clear, with some sources saying he has little support from those who make up the core of the reform movement. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure he doesn't live there because I feel like we've seen him do things at other cities and stuff. Yeah, he spoke in D.C. in July 2024, for example. Anyways, he posted on December 29th, I call on all segments of society to join your compatriots in the streets and cry out for the fall of this system. And my special message to the security and law enforcement forces, this system is collapsing. Don't stand against the people. Join the people. We are victorious because we are right and we are united and with one voice. He also said yesterday the Islamic Republic tried to keep you at home by closing public places and universities, but you bravely stood in the streets. Let's see here. Here is what, where is this here? So, Institute for the Study of War, you can check them for updates too. They post a lot about updates about a lot of an analysis of a lot of different conflicts going on around the world. They are at understandingwar.org, and this is their update from yesterday about Iran. And I just wanted to show you some of this. They, as we talked about, they said protests have continued to expand geographically across Iran as of yesterday. Small protests broke out in Tehran on December 28th and then had spread as of yesterday to 17 of Iran's 31 provinces. Institute for the Study of War recorded a total of 31 protests that they were aware of in Iran on December 31st, compared to 24 on December 30th. Now, they also say, based on what they know, Iranian security forces shot live fire to disperse protesters in at least 2 instances yesterday, as protests continued across Iran for the 4th consecutive day. The regime appears to be using live fire to suppress protests in less populated areas of Iran. The regime has historically struggled to impose control in more rural areas. Interesting. The regime also deployed water cannons to attempt to suppress protests on December 31st, yesterday. They point out that they did this in Hamadan, and the weather in Hamadan is currently 2 degrees below 0 degrees Celsius. The regime's use of water cannons against protesters comes amid Iran's unprecedented water shortage crisis, says Institute for the Study of War. The regime's deployment of water as a tool to suppress protests amid Iran's water crisis highlights the regime's prioritization of its security and survival, says Institute for the Study of War. They also say the regime continued to arrest protesters yesterday. They have a map. I will post a link to this article. You can find a map. This is as of yesterday from Critical Threats and Institute for the Study of War, where they have a map of Iran. And it's interesting. See, it says high confidence, medium confidence, low confidence. And they say, this map shows protests that we have recorded since the last data cutoff, and but some of them are in red, which is low confidence. As I told you, it's hard to tell exactly what's going on there. But I'll post a link to this article again. They report that the Iranian regime is taking steps to prevent further protests at universities. The regime likely views university students as a serious threat to regime stability, given that students played a significant role in the 2022 Masha Amini protests. Interesting. The regime directed some universities yesterday to do remote learning until the end of the semester, citing cold weather. The decision is very likely meant to prevent students from organizing and participating in protests, however. Students from at least 10 universities participated in protests on December 30th. The regime likely regards university protests as a more serious threat to its stability than demonstrations organized by other segments of the population, given that university students were a key demographic of the Masha Amini movement between September 2022 and January 2023. That's an interesting point from ISW. Okay, I want to see anything else with the protests here. Okay. So those are a couple interesting points. If you want to read the whole Iran update from Institute for the Study of War, you can go over there, and I'll post a link again. But I think it's helpful just to see this. I mean, this is they look at Iranian media and they look at videos, and they do their best to get things right. And so you look at their map they came out with yesterday, and you can see they have some incidents which are medium confidence and low confidence. Look at all the red. So the article, the map is of protests in Iran continue to expand geographically for a fourth consecutive day, but all the red dots are low confidence. So they have some information suggesting that there's protesting in those red dot locations, but it's low confidence. Which is quite interesting. Thank you to Abdullah Siraj 3217. Thank you. Jewish Pickles thinks the Islamic regime has been the worst thing that has ever happened to Iran. Let's see here. Stephen 2025 points out that, we were talking about where the son of the Shah of Iran lives, Reza Pahlavi. And I think it actually says it in the... does it say it in the Wikipedia article? I don't know. One of our viewers, Stephen 2025, said AI said that he splits his time, I think, between DC and Paris, but I don't see where the source was. So with AI, I mean, if there's an AI can make mistakes. So if I look on something on AI, I want to know, well, where are they getting it from? Where's the AI article getting it from? So if you do send me something you're seeing on AI, please let me know the source that AI is using, because otherwise it might just be wrong, and there's no way of me to check that. Thanks, Stephen, for writing in. By the way, I missed a post from Kiwi NZ who said that the foam on the ceiling in the bar that caught on fire in Switzerland was probably for acoustic purposes. That I do not know. Maybe you're right. As I mentioned, Reuters and AP are both reporting that there have been some people killed in the Iran protests. The Reuters report from today says that several people were killed during unrest in Iran. Iranian media and rights groups said at the biggest protests to hit Iran for 3 years over worsening economic conditions sparked violence in several provinces. The semi-official Fars news agency said 3 protesters were killed and 17 injured during an attack on a police station in Iran's western province of Loristan. That could be true. I don't know. I don't have video of it that I can show you. They said, again, the semi-official Fars news agency said rioters entered the police headquarters around 6 p.m. and clashed with police forces and set fire to several police cars. The clashes between protesters and security forces mark a significant escalation in the unrest that has spread across the country since shopkeepers began protesting on Sunday over the government's handling of a sharp currency slide and rapidly rising prices. See, like this, it says, FARS claimed that 2 people had been killed in Lortigan in crashes between security services and what it called armed protesters. And then rights group Henga said several people had been killed and wounded by security forces there. The Revolutionary Guards claimed that 1 member of its Basij volunteer paramilitary affiliated unit had been killed and another 13 wounded. There's all these reports, and then look what Reuters says. Reuters could not immediately verify any of these reports. Like I said, it's very hard to know what's going on. And often you have, certainly state media is going to have an interest in playing things one way, portraying things one way, whereas a rights group might have an interest in portraying things another way. And so, you can't really just take everything at face value, especially when it's just so hard to verify stuff from there. Nigel Fortune says reliable sources needed. It's just hard. There's not a lot of press freedom there, and you don't get live streams really coming out from there, generally speaking. CC says we need satellite pics for verification. Look, censorship in Iran, Wikipedia. In Iran, censorship was ranked among the world's most extreme in 2024. Reporters Without Borders ranked Iran 176 out of 180 countries in the World Press Freedom Index. Reporters Without Borders described Iran as one of the world's 5 biggest prisons for media personnel in the 40 years since the revolution. Iran has strict regulations when it comes to internet censorship. The Iranian government and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps persistently block social media such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, along with many popular websites such as Blogger, HBO, YouTube, and Netflix. Internet censorship in Iran functions similarly to the Great Firewall of China. Stricter monitoring in the National Information Network was in use during the 2019 Iranian protests. These restrictions made it more difficult for videos of unrest in Iran to be posted or viewed on social media. So you don't have this robust free press there. You don't have lots of independent news organizations running around with cameras, shooting their own footage and just posting it on and without the government seeing it at all. I would certainly guess that individual people, if they're filming some unrest and then try to post it in the online so the world can see it, I would think that could put, from what you're reading here, that could put the individual poster at risk. So you're just going to get a lot less out there. And as I've said, often live streams can be really great because you really can just see what's happening in real time. Not that you can tell everything about what's going on, but they can be really informative. You hardly ever see them from Iran. Reuters says Iran's clerical rulers are grappling with Western sanctions that have battered an economy already reeling from more than 40% inflation, compounded by Israeli and U.S. airstrikes in June targeting the country's nuclear and ballistic missile infrastructure and military leadership. Tehran has responded to the protests with an offer of dialogue alongside its security response. A government spokesperson said today that the authorities would hold a direct dialogue with representatives of trades unions and merchants, but without giving details. As we mentioned, the government shut down much of the country on Wednesday. by declaring a holiday due to cold weather. But many people think they were trying to shut down the protests. Authorities have in recent years quashed protests over issues ranging from high prices, droughts, women's rights, and political freedoms, often with tough security measures and extensive arrests. Also at the bottom it says, Iran's economy has been struggling for years, chiefly because of U.S. and Western sanctions over Tehran's nuclear program. Nick Rose, our member, says, maybe they are trying to cover something up. Do you mean the government, Nick? Thanks, Nick, for being a member. I should also check and see what some of the Iranian media sites are posting about this. Sometimes you can find some interesting things on their media sites. Here is... I'm on the FARS website, F-A-R-S. Why won't it translate? Why won't it translate? Got to do it this way, I guess. Let's see what the government media is saying. Hang on. It's so weird. I'm having an issue translating. Normally I can translate the foreign language pages. For some reason, this one from FARS is difficult to translate. Let's try this again. This won't work. How about IRNA? IRNA news agency. I'm looking at Islamic Republic News Agency, which is, I believe, a state-controlled media site, and I'm trying to find stuff about the protests there. I'm not seeing much on that one. It's interesting. Okay, I found an article, from FARS News, which is again semi-official media in Iran. All right, so this is an article that's posted. It's like on the front of FARS News. And it starts off by saying, despite the recent protests, despite public dissatisfaction with high prices and economic instability, people's presence on the streets has been less than in previous periods. Fortunately, the Iranian people, with their intelligence and understanding of the situation, have refrained from joining these movements while expressing their protests. Now listen, FARS News Agency also says, this is while the right to protest and express dissatisfaction is a natural right of the Iranian people, just as these protests exist in all the countries of the world. However, says FARS News Agency, a key difference between Iran and many countries is the existence of numerous terrorist opposition networks that are supported by governments such as the U.S. and Israel. Terrorist groups in the east and west of Iran, along with sympathizers of the MKO and monarchists who have explicitly called for the formation of armed calls to destabilize the country, are practically trying to overshadow the voice of the people's peaceful protests for their own purposes. So again, this is an article from today. It's prominently featured on the Fars news agency website, which is they're associated with the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. And you can see what they're saying. They're saying, well, there's some people who are just peacefully protesting with legitimate economic complaints. But we have all these terrorists supported by the U.S. and Israel who are trying to use the protests for their own purposes. And they claim that the Iranian people, with their intelligence and understanding of the situation, have refrained from joining these movements. This shows social maturity and public awareness of the conspiracies of the enemies. Also, Fars news agency says another important point about these protests is the professional and generous approach of the police force in managing the protests. During this period, the police have noticeably avoided unnecessary clashes with control and calmness and have not allowed the atmosphere to escalate into tension. However, says Fars News Agency, in some areas, deliberate actions by armed rioters, including approaching sensitive centers such as police stations, may lead to a decisive response by the security forces. Evidence shows, they say, that some of the arrested leaders were fully trained and, according to instructions, did not have mobile phones to avoid detection. They have practiced methods of inciting people and diverting peaceful protests, and even among them, the presence of women as leaders has been evident. Also, says Fars News Agency, the rioters' planning is such that they continue the gatherings until late at night, while it is clear that this hour is no longer related to civil protests, and the goal is to create chaos and insecurity. They claim a number of the riot cells that have recently been arrested were trained in an organized manner and had a mission to provoke a harsh police response and inflame the atmosphere of society through provocative actions. It seems that the professional approach of the police and the vigilance of the people have been two key factors in neutralizing violent scenarios and maintaining national security during this period. So this article, as far as I can tell, this is just an article from Fars News Agency. It's like the lead article on the Fars website. I'm looking at the Fars website not in English. I'm looking at it in Persian. And again, Fars is close to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. It's very interesting, that article. But look, I just think it's interesting to see that's the way one, what I would call a state media outlet, is portraying things. Damian Lewis says, only the police are allowed to be trained and they made us do it. But they're trying to say, like, we're fine with people peacefully protesting the economics. But these other people who are trained, who some of them are trained by, who are supported by other countries, they're trying to hijack the protests. Bad Toastery thinks it's enough spin to break orbit. But look, I mean, so I don't know exactly what's going on, but I'm sure a lot of you hear that and you're like, well, maybe that's not the whole story, right? But as I just showed you, Iran is notorious for not having press freedom. So this is a reason that it's a big reason it's hard to tell what's going on there, because you can't really fully trust the state media on this stuff. But you don't have any kind of well-established, free, non-state media. Now, Skyzo says probably at least a partial truth to that. I don't know. Look, and also, from all the reporting we've read suggests that the multiple reports floating around suggest that the protests began among merchants with economic complaints in Tehran. It's certainly possible that other people with other things that they're complaining about, who care more about, say maybe they're more anti-regime than caring about the economy, although maybe the economy plays a part in it. But certainly you could have a protest start with one group of people and other people can jump on with other issues. So that certainly could be going on. Now, I will say, you can find other outlets out there that are very anti-regime, but I wouldn't want to rely exclusively on anti-regime outlets for saying what's going on, because they might have an interest in portraying things as like, oh, look at how huge the protests are, and the regime is at risk of collapse. So it's just, and again, I'm sorry to say this, and you might say, well, why do you keep talking about how hard it is to cover this? Why don't you just give us more information? But I just think when you're trying to cover this stuff, if you want to, if you don't want to be misleading about it, you have to point out how difficult it is to get reliable information. So I believe me, I wish if I had a lot more reliable information on what was going on, if I had lots of live streams showing you the protests that could really show us what was going on there, I would show them to you. Nigel Fortune says, who to rely on then? I mean, at a certain point, you're just not going to get a great picture from outside as to what's going on. But as I did say, I do think if things get bad enough somewhere, you see things. Thanks, Jonathan Boraz Johnny, for watching. And Iran's a big country too. What's the This is one of these. What's the population? I try to guess. Can I get it? I'm going to say 60 million. Am I remotely close? Maybe I'm way off. 92 million. I wasn't that close. It wasn't crazy. Anyways, though, it's a huge country. So if you see 2 or 3 videos showing protesters saying death to the dictator, is that happening a lot? Is it not happening a lot? I can't say. A bunch of people in our chat said 90 million. Spicy Road says, surprised we can see anything with the normal shutdown of their internet. Or the normal control on that internet. Is that what you're saying? Tim Glenn says, Cuba has been allowing TikTok videos to be put out. Does Iran have any outlets like that? I don't know, to be honest. I see some videos on social media. I can't look at them myself and say that's legit. I have to rely on others. As I pointed out, the Institute for the Study of War, there are people who specialize in this stuff. They had an article yesterday with an Iran update about protests in Iran. And look, all the red dots on there are low confidence. So even the Institute for the Study of War, who specialize in this stuff, look at all the red dots. Low confidence. Yellow dots, medium confidence. So they're hearing stuff and they're not sure what to make of it. Aryan Kurdo says use Kurdish media like Rudao and Ava Media for coverage. Let's see here. If you missed it, the first part of the stream, we were covering giving you an update on the terrible Switzerland fire. Give me one sec here. Zesty Zomp, our viewer, says mixed feelings about Iran issues, too many side rumors. Tasnim News Agency, which is, I believe, is a state news agency in Iran, I believe, aren't they? Semi-official news agency, also affiliated with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. So they posted, I think about 8 hours ago, and they said, following the publication of a number of calls on the subject of economic protests and counter-revolutionary incitement in cyberspace on Thursday evening in the dark and at approximately 6:30 p.m., a maximum of 15 to 20 people gathered at Khayyam Street in Kazvin. The gathering, which has no permit and was an illegal action, was not supported by the people and businessmen of the commercial centers. They led a number of deceived people who knowingly or unknowingly chanted unruly and non-political slogans on the street to instill fear and panic in the people present on the street and the shops. So they're just talking about this. The violent political slogans of these individuals, who at their peak numbered less than 50, carrying cold weapons and attacking people, caused the people themselves to call authorities. In an attack by rioters on trade unions and people, at least 3 shops were damaged. So again, they're talking. This is the state media talking, So I don't know what really happened. They also, Tasnim talks about claims that rioters tried to set fire to a mosque in Hamadan. So they're certainly posting about this stuff, state media, but they're portraying the protesters pretty badly. let's see here. Hold on a second here. The New York Times also said, like, semi-official news outlets and a rights group said there was violence and other deaths during a protest in the western city of Lordagan in Iran today, but it was not possible to immediately verify those claims. They also say that they talk about a report of Basij militia that works with Iran security forces, one of them getting killed and 13 others injured, and then also a report that said government forces had shot a man while protesting and he died. And then the Times said neither of those claims could be verified. Maybe we'll do a quick poll question. Will the Iran protests get a lot bigger? How's that? I mean these specific protests, not 5 years from now. Let's do a quick poll and see what you guys say. All right, we're going to see what you guys have to say. Over on YouTube, it is 284, well, not 200, it's 68% yes and 31% no. Quite different than Twitch. Twitch says, look at this. We have a disagreement. Twitch says 58% no, 60% no, 40% yes. The YOLO life says, I hope they get 300% bigger. Well, the question is not what you hope, it's what you think will happen. They have gotten bigger since Sunday when they were just in Tehran among merchants, but we'll have to see. UFO says there is fog of war there. Robert Walker says, I think Iran is going to collapse. David Debbie Weiner thinks the Twitch poll is more realistic. Hey, thanks AZ Intel's dad for shouting out the moderators. Thanks AZ Intel's dad, and thanks for your support. I really appreciate that. Kids Coach says, I think this is the beginning of the end for the regime. Matthew Curatolo thinks the protests will become bigger but then be put down with the help of the Russians. Thomas Healy says probably another nothing burger. Crime expert thinks Iran always has political and economic instability. Nigel thinks protests will grow. People are unhappy. All right, so the Twitch and YouTube will have to agree to disagree. Thanks for voting in the poll. Let me just see if I have any updates here on anything. Let me just do a quick check and see if I have updates. The Wall Street Journal says, so I mentioned, we've been talking about how there's in the last couple of days been reports of violence at these protests and some people dying perhaps. The Wall Street Journal said that the violence could spur the regime to crack down more firmly on protesters. They also say, according to the World Bank, Iran's food inflation reached 64.2% in October, the second highest level of food price inflation in the world. This guy, our viewer, thinks that the bottom of the Iranian economy has fallen out. Inflation is out of control, and there's no quick fix. This is a nightmare scenario for China and Russia, thinks this guy. Craig Blanton raises the possibility that Starlinks are being smuggled into Iran. By the way, thanks to Big Dog Gaming and Naomi Rousseau for your support on Twitch. I really appreciate it. Also, Gonzalez for subscribing on Twitch. And John Deeds. Thanks, John Deeds, for your support. I missed this before. Our viewer, the Quantum Cat. Regarding when we were talking about the fire in Switzerland, which we talked about earlier in the stream, the first part of the stream, and there's a photo apparently showing some foam catching on fire, apparently on the ceiling. A couple of our viewers, like a Quantum Cat, thinks it's acoustic foam for sound purposes. A Quantum Cat says he thinks it's for absorbing sound reflections, and he thinks it's a fire hazard. Again, that I don't know, but a couple of our viewers have suggested that. I missed that comment before, so I want to read that comment from our viewer. Oh, and then another viewer sent me a couple videos, MWA Laundry. Now, what's this one here? Hold on. There's a video here, which I hadn't seen this one. I can't show this one. It appears to show the scene of the fire in Switzerland, and you actually see a couple people lying on the ground at the start of the video. I hadn't seen that one before. It's not good. And then there's the other one. I think we saw. Well, I've seen that one. Yeah. Thanks, MWA Laundry. All right. I think we have Tetio thinks Iran is in uprising now. That's what Tetio says. We'll have to see where things go in Iran. I don't know if these are going to get much bigger or not. We'll have to see. I also think if there is a violent enough response to protests, you will see evidence of that as well. You're not going to see it all, but you'll see some. So right now, it just doesn't seem like we know. You know, I've shown you some articles where they talk about maybe the response will get more violent, maybe the protests will grow. We'll have to see where this all goes. But I think right now, we did an update on both stories. And maybe we'll do another update in the future as more things develop. Right as I said earlier, right now it's about 5:30 a.m. in Switzerland, and in Iran it's been early morning there. What is it like? 8 in the morning there. So I'll be keeping an eye out. One of our viewers, Cece, says if it gets real bad, there will be leaks. Yeah, so I will keep an eye out for things, we might do more on these stories as things develop. I'll watch for it. So I wanted to come on the air and just give an update on them. But I really appreciate people tuning in and also sharing your thoughts. We read a bunch of viewer comments, and also sending me updates and links to things that you've seen. So thank you for doing that. And again, as things develop, if there's big developments on these or other stories, we can do more coverage. So I wish everybody a happy new year. As weird as that is to say when we're covering, I mean, it's obviously a terrible thing. That terrible fire is awful, and around 40 people were killed, and I believe the majority of people have serious injuries. A majority of the around 115 people injured, majority was serious injuries. So it's really terrible. But we'll keep an eye on things. Yeah, who knows? Maybe there'll be. I don't know how long it'll take the Swiss government to do the investigation and to find out more. But we don't have a lot from them right now on what exactly happened with the fire. Maybe it'll take months. I don't know. Anyways, if you missed it, you can go back to the start and watch. The first part of the stream was about updates about the fire. But I do very much appreciate you tuning in. If you want, subscribe, follow the channel, Agenda Free TV. We cover all kinds of live breaking news without an agenda, Agenda Free TV. And I would suggest turning on our notifications, because you never know when big news is going to happen, and I'm going to jump on the air. I can't tell you in advance, but we have a notification system. It's free. Send you a notification whenever we go live. All you have to do is sign up once for free. That's all we do through Discord. So if you're interested in that, the mods will post the link to sign up for the notifications in the chat, and you can find the link in the description of this video on YouTube and Facebook. But sign up to those. And also, if you want, you can follow me on X. I'm posting updates about these and other stories on X. I have posted a couple photos from French media that I mentioned about the right before the start of this fire and right at the start. I posted a couple of those on my X account. You can see them there. I'll post a link to my X account at Lookner. And I really appreciate our moderators too. Moderators are awesome. They're always here keeping things under control in our chat rooms. Huge thanks to them. They allow us to have our chat rooms. People like Ruth and Roberts May Queen on YouTube, thank you so much. And by the way, I think I got to thank a couple other people too. I never thanked Kalashnikov. Sorry, Kalashnikov. Anyways, let me thank the mods first. Thank you so much, Ruth and Roberts May Queen over on X, and all of our other X moderators. BZ was there moderating. Thank you. Very much appreciate it. On Twitch, I got that fire. Matthew Kohai 3, Idaho Star, Mark HNC, Sarah, thank you. Linda Bell Glary, Misha on X, our Facebook mods, Kay Lowry Body, Margaret Riley. Any other mods I might be missing? Oh, thanks Susan Priest-Buchner for the Facebook stars. I really appreciate that, Susan. Thank you. And Christy Claff for subscribing. I'll thank the other. And Chris Sear for subscribing. I'll thank the rest of other subscribers in a second. But thanks to our moderators. And thanks to everybody who donated. That's so nice of you guys. That is what allows the channel to be on the air, is your support. So I really appreciate it. If you ever want to donate, you can go to agendafree.tv, agendafree.tv. But huge thanks. Did I get everyone? I thanked Tim Glenn. And CC on Twitch, I owe to thank you too. Thank you. Yeah, but thanks so much for your support. It's really appreciated. And also, I should mention we do have a chat on Discord where you can chat with other viewers. It's free. A bunch of our viewers like doing the Discord chat. Check it out. It's the same link as the free notifications link. Big thanks also to our Discord moderators for all you do on Discord. For those of you on X, I would suggest following Agenda Free TV on X. I always post there when we're going live. I post updates about the channel there too, at Agenda Free TV. And let's see, what else did I want to mention? Oh, for those who watch on YouTube, I would suggest turning on the YouTube notifications. Oh, for those who watch on YouTube. And here's how you turn on the YouTube notifications. You need to subscribe to the channel. And then once you're subscribed, oops, you can't see it. I'll show you right now. You need to subscribe to the channel first. And then once you're subscribed, click the bell and choose all notifications. All. If you're already subscribed, make sure you have the bell checked and you've chosen all notifications. So you get the notifications when we're live. Thank you so much, Michael Toshi57. Thanks, Michael. That's really nice of you. And hey, shout out to our Facebook subscribers like Diane Allworth, who support the channel, Christy Claft, Chris Sear, Margaret Riley, Kay Lowry Body, Shannon Davis Hughes, Chuck Mosca, Robert Real II, Sharon Klassen Goslin, and all of our other Facebook subscribers over there. Thank you so much. Our Twitch subscribers as well. Thank you. Huge thanks like Sarah, Wall Street and Shaggy, CC. Jack's Animals, thank you. D. George, Tuck Fexus, CC Naomi Rousseau, Edu Makashun, Sidewalk Connoisseur. Thanks, Paula, too, for your support on Twitch as well. And all of our other Twitch subscribers and our YouTube members. Hey, thanks for watching, by the way, FinTech Shark. Our YouTube members, people like Evelyn in Maine, Sevenfold, YOLO Life, CAC813, Gary Baines, Patricia Grace, Barry, Eric Johnson, Silent Hero, UV Lightning, Evelyn in Maine, thanks for being members, J. David, Left-Handed, Ronan M60, Hackberts, Sevenfold, Hot Towel Service, Green Bean, Ben Van. Thanks, and all of our other YouTube members, thanks so much. And everybody else for watching, people like Clips000, Liger named Baxter, Factory Rejects, MX, Scoiatolo, Caviar, Liberta, Last Chain, and others, Timido1 and others on Twitch. Thanks for watching over there. Demi Smurthwaite. Oh, Paul Anderson was moderating too. Thanks, Paul. Debbie Smurthwaite, thanks for watching. Andrea Holder, Juliana Martin over there on Facebook. Thanks, Susan Priest-Buchner, for your support and for subscribing as well. Craig Carvalho, thanks for watching. And other people like Daryl Marshall, David Debbie Wiener, thanks for watching. Maximiliano Castilla, if I read that right, I might not have. Arunta says, terrible start to 2026. All right. So we're going to wrap up this live stream. Another viewer just sent me, ask your doctor, said what a couple of viewers have claimed that they think that there was acoustic foam at the ceiling of the nightclub and that it was that it would increase fire risk. That I do not know, but some of our viewers say that. All right, so that is it for right now. Thank you for joining us for our update on the terrible Switzerland bar fire and the Iran protests, or at least the best we could update you on the Iran protests. I know it's limited, but that is it for now. Thank you for watching. We'll see you soon with more live breaking news coverage right here at Agenda Free TV.